Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking the weapons of Skyrim based on design. Before we get started, I'm going to explain how I'm going to be doing this. Since Skyrim has a whole lot of weapons to rank, I'm going to be breaking them up into different videos based on type. And to start out with this first video, I'm going to be ranking one-handed swords. I'm going to be ranking them in order of tier, but I will be ranking them by appearance. I will be doing a series of these videos where I rank each type of weapons in Skyrim. So with that explanation out of the way, let's get started ranking one-handed swords in Skyrim. Okay, to start out, we have the basic iron sword, which doesn't look too bad. It's pretty basic in design, pretty practical. I'll probably have to just go ahead and put it at C. And since we're on the subject, D is like weapons that I don't really care for. C is kind of basic. B tier will be good. A will be the best. And then S will be my personal favorite. And of course, this is just going to be my opinions. So if you like, you can let me know what your favorite is in the comments. Next, we have the steel sword. And kind of like the iron sword. It's pretty practical design. I kind of like the leather over the handle instead of just plain metal. And I also kind of like the design on the hilt and the pommel. And I kind of like the shape of the blade near the base instead of just a straight triangle basically. So I'll have to probably put it in B tier. Next is the Imperial Sword. And I don't like this one as much because I don't really like how there's not as much space on the handle without these metal parts here on the upper and lower part of the handle. And I guess the shape of the blade is alright, but it seems a little stubby because just based on the blade to handle ratio, it makes it look kind of stubby, so I don't care for it too much, so I think I'll probably put it in D tier. And then we have the Ancient Nord Sword. I like this one a lot because I like the darker metal that it's made of. And I also like how there's kind of like the single edge, sort of, while it's still straight. I just overall kind of like the how it's kind of asymmetrical with the difference in the crossguard hilt kind of thing here. And kind of the way the blade is shaped. It's kind of harder to see, but there's kind of like this vine sort of thing coming up the blade, as well as the little markings on the blade. And there's another version of it that looks cleaner and kind of brighter colored. But since it's not a common type of weapon that you can find, I decided to go for the basic version, which I kind of like the rusty spots as well, because it kind of makes it feel more used instead of just a clean, brand new kind of sword. So I think I'm going to put this one in A tier. Next, we have the Silver Sword. And I like this one more than the Imperial or the Iron Sword. So I kind of like how the blade isn't a perfect triangle like the iron one is, but it's still kind of narrow like the Ancient Nord Sword. So if we look closer here, we can see some designs on the blade and on the cross guard or hilt. Overall, I kind of like the look of it a lot more than the other ones. So I think I'm going to have to put the Silver Sword in A tier as well. Next, we have the Orcish Sword. And I don't really like this one very much. It's going to have to probably go in D tier right away. I kind of like the ruggedness of it, I guess. You can see all the scratches and stuff from it being used, but I don't really like the shape of it or any of that. And I prefer straight swords over curved swords, so I think we're going to have to leave that one in D tier. Not saying it's necessarily bad, but it's just my least favorite out of what we've been over through so far. Next, we have the Dwarvish sword, which is kind of neat looking. It kind of goes for that similar gladius look that the Imperial sword did. But I kind of like how the blade is a little more even. And I like the handle being a little more, having better length to kind of balance the shape of the sword. And of course, the designs are kind of neat. All of the dwarven equipment has that sort of geometrical looking sort of lines and stuff. So I think I'm going to have to put this one in C tier. Just because it's kind of plain, except for the little designs and stuff. But I don't really like the lack of a cross guard here. Next, we have the Falmer sword. This one's a bit bizarre looking. It's got a kind of a curved blade, the way that the Orcish sword did. But I kind of like the look of it better almost, because I kind of like well, it's just kind of interesting. It's got the single edge and decent amount of handle for the blade. And I don't know if it's very practical looking, but it is pretty different. So I think I'm going to have to put this one... I think I'll go ahead and put it in the upper D tier, just to make sure we're above the other two. So I'll give it points for being different. Now we have the Forsworn sword, which isn't much of a sword at all. It's more of like a baton with a sharp point on the end of it. Kind of like the Falmer sword. It's different. It's more of just like a sharp weapon more than a sword. So I'm gonna have to put it in D, surprisingly under the Orcish sword. Now we have the Elven sword, which again kind of reminds me of the Imperial sword, where the blades kind of makes it look stubby. We don't have a clearly defined crossguard. We have these wings here that kind of act like a crossguard, but I don't really like the way the pommel looks. And even though it's kind of neat looking, I guess, but got a lot of details and stuff to it, I just don't care too much for it overall. So it's gonna have to go, we'll say the the bottom of C tier, because it does feel solid in the game when you're actually using it. So I'll give it points for that. So it's not a D tier, but it's gonna have to go at the bottom of C. Next we have the Nordic sword, which I kind of like the look of it. It's kind of rugged like the Orcish sword, and I kind of like the curved shape. Kind of reminds me of Orcrist from the Hobbit movies, live action movies. The handles definitely got kind of a DIY sort of design, I guess. It's just wrapped in some cloth and has this little fur thing for like a decorational sort of thing wrapped around the base of the blade. Overall, there's nothing really wrong with it. Again, it's kind of below the other straight blades, because I just kind of like the straight blade aesthetic better. Plus this one seems a little on the flimsy side, I guess. So even though it's metal, it's got kind of a thin part of the blade here. So it's going to have to go in C tier. We'll put it under the Dwarven sword. It'd probably go above if it wasn't a curve. And honestly, this one the shape of this one kind of looks more like it would be an elven sword than this one. I think if you switched the shape between the two of them, then they would both probably be higher. Now we have the glass sword, which I like this one. I kind of like the leaf shape. I would consider this a straight blade, considering it's got two sides and the center runs straight, even if the blade itself is a bit curved, or at least not a straight line. Um, I don't care too much for the handle. There's not really any kind of grip on it. It's just kind of like this design made of the metal of some sort. But overall, I really like the aesthetic of it. And I'll be ranking unique weapons in a different video. And there's a unique glass sword that's gonna rank pretty high. So, but for now, I think I'm gonna put this one at B tier above the steel sword. Next, we have the ebony sword, which this one's a bit unique. It's got like this large area that isn't blade or handle. So we have the handle that starts kind of right here somewhere. That seems like the bottom of the handle, and then the top is somewhere right here. Overall, it doesn't look very practical because you only have the blade right here, and then all of this for some reason, and then the handle's down here. So yeah, it's definitely unique, kind of like the other Falmer sword and Forsworn sword, but it looks cool, but it doesn't have any kind of practicality. But I think it's gonna have to go. We'll do the top of C tier. Now we have the Stalrim sword. This one is pretty cool because even though it looks a little bit stubby, I like the blue color in this dark metal part that kind of goes up in the center. Down here is kind of where it gets weaker. So I don't really like how the pommel is just a chunk of ice, basically. I guess that's a decent amount of handle, but if this part and this part were extended handle, then I think it'd be better. And I kind of like the kind of carved ice shape. That is enchanted ice, so I kind of like how it's just been shaped into a blade instead of forged. So this one's gonna have to go up here in either one of these. I think I'll do upper A. Next, we have the Daedric sword, which points for being pretty sharp looking, but I don't, again, it's a curved blade, so it's gonna have to be lower. But I kind of like the back part here, where it goes up the back of the blade. I don't know if I would have liked it better if it went all the way up. But just overall, there's just too much curve everywhere. Even the handle's curved. Well, I don't think curved blades are that bad. Overall, I just like the straight sword better, so this one's gonna have to go. I kind of like using it better in Skyrim more than the ebony sword. Just because I kind of like the way it looks in the game better. So it's going to have to go in lower B. And we'll leave the ebony sword at the top of C. Alright, finally, we have the Dragonbone sword. This one's a pretty good looking sword, in my opinion. It's got kind of this similar to the Stalrim sword, where it's kind of been splintered or just broken off of the dragon bone to kind of create a blade shape and then sharpened. It's also got this metal spine running through the center of it. And again, it's kind of like it's kind of got more blade on this side, at least up here, and then a little bit more so I like the asymmetrical shape of it. And I like the handle. There's not really any kind of grip on the handle, but I like the simplicity of it, I guess. And like the bolted look where where the bone was kind of bolted into the metal. And while it's not quite as cool as the other two, it's gonna have to go on top of A tier. And finally, I'm gonna have to decide what my favorite is, and it's probably gonna have to be the Skyrim sword, and honorable mention to the Nordic sword. And then we'll have Dragonbone and Silver in A, Glass, Steel, and Daedric in B, Ebony, Dwarven, Nordic, Iron, and Elven in C, and then Falmer, Imperial, Orcish, and Forsworn in D tier. Alright, that is every one-handed sword in Skyrim rank based on appearance and design, according to my opinion. I'll be covering unique weapons in a different video. I'll also be covering other weapon types in other videos. If you enjoyed this video, keep an eye out for those. I'll probably be doing one every Friday until I finish every type, and I'll make a series out of it. If you want to share with me what your opinion is on my ranking, or if you want to share what your favorite was out of these, let me know in the comments. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video.